right, everyone, I jumped the gun just a little bit on that. Totally my mistake. But now, finally, after the long wait, we have kyoslilmonster running Final Fantasy 15. Give it up for him. Take it away.
Hey. Howdy, howdy, friends. It's me. I hope you're ready for a small percentage of Final Fantasy 15. I was very tired and busy this month and week and forgot to bring commentary with me. So I'm going to do it myself. Maddie, feel free to jump in if you have any questions or anything like that, because I know you're mildly familiar with this route. We're going to be running this on normal, and I'm going to skip the tutorial. But yeah, this is going to be 15 done as quickly as possible. There's going to be a lot of very broken things that I'll explain, but I am ready to go if you want to count it down.
All right. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, take it away.
Cool. All right. But yeah, welcome in, friends. I'm Kios. It's a pleasure to meet you. Hopefully you've been having a good time with friends here over at Midwest Speed Fest. If you're unfamiliar with this game, this is in fact Final Fantasy 15. I am running this on PC. This version of the run can actually be done on console, any manner of it, as long as it is the Royal Edition or the Windows Edition on PC. It's actually pretty neat for a relatively what we call new game. I guess it's technically 8th generation console, the PS4, Xbox One. A lot of the tricks actually boil down to stuff that we've seen on older generation consoles. Memory overflow glitches, as well as wrong warps. But we're going to get in here similar to a Guy Ritchie film. We're going to start right at the end and then proceed to the beginning. I will also probably talk over Stand By Me or just kind of mute game audio if anyone wants to remind me to turn the audio back on. Just so if you put it on YouTube, it doesn't, you don't get like a notice like, we hear you using copyrighted music. This isn't a strike, but we're here to clarify. But yeah, we have a little introduction scene to the Choka Bros here. But if you're unfamiliar with this game or the story, it is the story of a bachelor party goes poorly. I'm going to mute the audio here on my end just so I don't have to talk nonstop. But yeah, hopefully you've been doing well and enjoying all the fun runs from the weekend. But yeah, welcome in. If you do have general questions, I know some of you might be. Listen, I love Bill Withers. That was my dad's wedding song. But if you're unfamiliar with some of the kind of setup that I have, I don't know how well it's going to translate. But you might see in the top left of the game screen, there's a bunch of numbers floating around. That is something that is actually built into the PC version of this game. It lists my FPS, system memory, GPU, and disk speed. And I'm going to be monitoring those actively during the run, not just because I'm a tremendous dork, but also some of the skips that we use are determinant of some of the readouts there. Obviously, it's good to have system memory and GPU memory up just so like I can see what's going on and notice if anything weird is happening. But the big one is actually going to be the disk speed. The main premise of the run is going to involve trying to time menuing in between a full graphical reset and the disk loading, which is going to actually allow us to kind of move around invisible walls. But yeah, it should be pretty good. This is a fairly tight run. I'm actually doing this without live splits running, so there might be a few things that don't go exactly like my PB, but hey, welcome to marathon runs. A lot of times some things happen that are a bit out of our control. And either way, we're going to have fun. We'll still hit it under estimate. And I am going to re-enable the audio, so don't forget. I'm just going to talk about the weather. Beautiful scene, except that telephone pole bugs me all the time. If you do notice that the game looks a bit lower quality than you remember, that is intentional. My graphics settings to maintain a smooth and consistent 120 FPS are off. I have turned the graphics off. and it is running as opposed to being at 1080p, it is actually upscaling itself from 480p. So it is what it is. You gotta do what you gotta do to make things consistent. Um, this is just kind of like how I've been running it, and just kind of stuck. So we're gonna get dropped into the tutorial here. We're gonna say hi to the weapons vendor. We're gonna say hi to Cindy, and Cindy here, yeah, the PS3 version. It's great. Cindy's gonna be like, "Ah, hey y'all." She's part of the I don't know why she has this accent, but we're just gonna roll with it crew. Um, but we're going to have a few dialogue choices here throughout the run. And it is rather important. I am going to try and focus very hard to get a certain amount of AP before a certain part of the run. That's a little backwards, but we'll be fine. All right, really quick menu, right? So what we have here is Prince Noctis has now decided to stop being royalty and has instead decided to join the oops, I can't make that joke, otherwise we'll get a cease and desist. The rest of the boys they're going to stay in their same outfit. But we equip to them some items that basically give us a little extra AP if we do real good in battle. But no, Noctis is wearing something called the Magitech Exosuit. It was added to the game. I think it was the same patch. This might be a problem to start it off. All right, well, we dodged that bullet. But this suit was added to the game. I believe the same update they overhauled Chapter 13. Which is also the introduction of one of the first DLC episodes, which was Gladios. What it does is it really helps you if you're having a tough time. And it makes you invulnerable and uninterruptible in combat, keyword in combat, for 30 in-game, IRL minutes while you're in combat. So we're on our way here. We're doing our little tutorial mission. I hit the first strategy there. If you notice, I just kind of stood around like I forgot what I was doing, and I promise that is exactly what happened. Just kidding. Every once in a while, the game will give you like a little heads up, like, hey, if you do this really cool, neat thing, we'll give you an extra reward. For me, I need to get the strategy in the first one because it's not that big of a time loss, and generally it's pretty easy to do. And I want to get this third one here because generally I have just amount of time to get it at the end, which looks good. And I'm going to take a photo really quick. So what that gave us very early is 20 extra AP. I am looking to get a total of at minimum 46. I would like to have 48. The boys are just going to apparate out of nowhere. Get used to weird stuff happening. We're basically going to be running this game at a breakneck pace until it just literally gives up. So we're going to have a little continuation here. Cindy's like, oh, hey, why don't you go check out our friend Dave? And we're like, yeah, we'll get Dave. Dave's a good guy. Dave Aubrunry. Ooh, there we go. Just absolutely ate some frame data there. We don't need that. And we're going to go take a look in this here shack. And it doesn't look like there's a human in it. But, you know, the enemies here, they're just smart enough to pull off a good old-fashioned ambush. And I can't believe we walked right into it. Oh, well. Let's see if we can fight our way out. I realize I should have put up like a little input display. That would have been really cute. All right. 2, 3, and that's surprisingly pretty quick and clear. We're gonna start making our way over here because that's our next objective, where we have to check this other shack that is also conveniently near that other shack, even though technically it's a barn. Like, I would have called it a barn. I'm not even from the Midwest, and I know that's a barn. I mean, well, it could be like a tractor shed, maybe, but I'm not here to split hairs. Anyway, clean fight.
Hey, who's out there? Well, look who's in here.
You don't look much like hunters to me. I don't know. The dude in the magical Power Ranger-esque armor. Doesn't look like they might take down any sort of enemies, perhaps. A luxury outhouse. I like it. I'll allow it. Hair is delicious. You just got to be careful. You can't have it too often. It's way too lean to subsist on.
What do you say? Put that puppy to rest.
Anyway, I'm just going to be a jerk the entire time. I don't know if anyone has noticed that yet, but
For the right price.
if you're a jerk, you get out of dialogue really fast, which is super cool because just like in real life, if you want to get out of a conversation really fast, just try being a jerk. Generally, no one will want to talk or interact with you. It's great for any percent speedruns. Coming up, we got the first skip of the run here, where I'm hopefully going to just make Ignis disappear. Cool. Ignis isn't going to tell me about camping, which is cool. I've put like 4,000 hours in this game. I don't need a reminder how camping works. But yeah, pretty cool kind of skips in this run. Generally, if you get a skip, nothing happens, which generally, other games you get a skip, it's like, oh, wow, I've warped to the end of the level, or I'm out of bounds, or the game is crashing.
Yes, but not your run-of-the-mill breed.
Yeah, that's part of it, High Spirits. You're a really nice guy. This run went through so many iterations. Last year, this run, RTA was like somewhere in... It was like an hour and a half-ish, and now it's pretty consistently like hour or less.
Nice one. It's not over yet.
What were the big improvements over the past year then that caused that?
So a lot of it was just really kind of figuring out what we could cut from the run. Just what we could cut, how to activate the namesake glitch of this run, active menu glitch, how we could do it earlier. We entirely redid the whole final boss fight multiple times. We found a way to skip an entire boss rush, which makes no sense, but was totally discovered on accident. What else did we do? Oh, triggering ways to get chocobos faster. It's just a whole bunch of weird stuff that just kind of compounded and just testing. The only thing that I don't think is really super concrete is the Ifrit fight. Unfortunately, I haven't found a way to constantly manipulate his moveset in order to get what I want, so it's gonna be a fight that takes either a minute or 3 minutes or somewhere in between. It just is. Yeah, we used to go to Lestalem to get a certain ingredient. There used to be additional zero camera bugs, like just a whole bunch of wacky stuff. Because, rather be safe than sorry. And inevitably, we figured out you can do this run at level 1, but it's very challenging, and you really only get one shot at it, unfortunately.
We're a little busy.
How could you say no to
And how could you say no to Cindy?
I just did. Also, if I do, it gives me 2 AP, which I need. Like, I don't technically need it right now, but, like, actually, I think I do, because I missed one of the warp strikes, which means technically I would be at 45 if I didn't tell her no, which means I would be 1 short for what I need.
Would you care to take her for a little test drive, Noct?
So this is just slightly tight in the routing.
Yeah, there's like a backup strat. It just becomes invariably slower. All right, so we're gonna make our way to finish up this tutorial. I'm gonna sell off a few things here, i.e. everything except the sheep's milk. I am going to put some music on. Let's see here. There we go. I'm gonna pick the best Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy 13. I hope you enjoy the soundtrack, and if you got anything to plug or get in there, by all means, feel free. You got about roughly a minute.
I'm sure Cindy will be glad to look after your car. Oh, right.
So, that's what this is about. If you need, I could always lend you the regalia.
Whoa! Thanks for the offer, but once we're back in the Crown City, I think I better score my own wheels.
I'm going to finish off the shopping menu here. Money looks really good, which is nice. It doesn't actually directly matter. All of it just becomes a safety net for me. And then we're going to buy 98 sheep's milk. Oh, Ignis will crash into a lot of stuff. We manually drive the car literally in this. In the glitchless run, it does save a fairly significant portion of time. In this run, not so much, but I do have to kind of maneuver Ignis around in certain places because otherwise there are weird obstacles in the road.
What was that?
So a good parking spot. So I've already now decided that I don't want to do what Cindy wants to do, and we are officially off to any percent land. That is not correct. Let me just... We'll take a second and try this again. I was one input short. Unfortunate. Sometimes the game get a little cranky. It's probably very upset that I've done this a third time in a row today. That looks better. Cool. Anyway, I am on the other side of that blockade that is not supposed to open until chapter... I believe that's chapter 2. So, yeah, we're already out of bounds, and I'll explain what that was. That is referred to as ZCB, or a zero camera bug. And what we basically do is we change the FPS settings for the graphics, which kind of forces like the game to reset itself very quickly. While we are in first person mode, which causes the camera to kind of freak out and forget where our position is for a little bit. And depending on when the disk speed loads and reloads, between that gap, we have time to move. The first attempt, I just messed up and entered resolution instead of the frame rate. And then the second one, unfortunately, I didn't get out far enough. So while we were paused, what actually happened was I warped through the wall, got placed in the nearest, position that I could, which is actually there's a ledge that runs along top of there that is an out of bounds area, but you can still move around. And then jumped off of that ledge around the other side of the gate while the game was loaded. That's one of the more complex ZCBs. The next one we have 2 basically. And as far as the game is concerned, we're still doing the quest where we're supposed to stop at the motel and camp, and it introduces you to like resting and leveling up if you haven't already, or you decided you didn't want to camp. It basically forces your hand into saying like, hey, here's how you level up. Just gonna kind of straight line this. We're gonna make our way over to Wiz. This is actually one of the only categories where we get chocobos. We actually need them because chocobos can do something that we cannot in this game. I wonder if anyone knows what it is. One thing chocobos can do that we cannot.
I'm going to hopefully say fly.
Flying? No. Laying eggs? You know that's untrue, and I'm not going to tell you why that is untrue. Make dinner. Well, okay. Well, in the game. All right. In the game, not in... Geisel greens stink.
Hey, come again.
Have friends. Listen, that's pushing it for some of us, okay? Big old menu. I'll explain it in a minute. We got ourselves some abilities really quickly. And the most important one, I had basically went to the bottom. The only ability I care about is the one on the bottom. The one on the bottom is a fun ability called Switch to Ignis, which, believe it or not, allows us to control Ignis. Quite a interesting name for it. I did buy a really cool weapon that I put on Noctis already called the Aircept Sword. And what that does is it halves our MP cost to Warp Strike as long as our feet are not touching the ground. We're going to need that for the rest of the run, period. I also equipped the rest of the party in the Magitech suit because I need them to stay alive no matter what. Noctis is in this really fun outfit called the Royal Raiment, which increases my MP pool and regen rate. I also gave him fire, which, again, we're going to need to use for a strategy that we have upcoming. And it also, because it's a special strategy and like a really cool part in the game, actually does extra damage for us, which is really nice. It is nighttime. I am still level 1, so I have to drive the car. And we're going to drive it for a little bit, and I'm just going to park it on the side of the road. I need to park it somewhere fairly specific, and hope that everything kind of goes smoothly here, because the encounters are kind of on a timer that I'm now running behind. Although hearing that is actually a good thing.
All right. Well, I promised to hold the correct button when talking this time. If we have time to plug anything, I can.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm going to do some ZCBs here at a very specific spot, so you can take over. I got to focus anyway.
Well, I don't currently have any donations to read out, but I'm sure all of y'all in chat watching this and enjoying the run can help out. But what you're donating towards, let me tell you a little about that. Midwest Speedfest Fall Frenzy is raising money for One Iowa, a charity organization that advances, empowers, and improves the lives of LGBTQ Iowans statewide. It is extremely important, now and always, to support LGBTQ individuals, especially in underrepresented and overlooked areas such as Iowa. You can donate directly to One Iowa by typing !donate in chat, or by going directly to donate.midwestspeedfest.com.
Don't think I got it on the first try here. We'll see. No, try it again. It's really finicky. Like, even though I'm running this at 120 FPS, I can make inputs faster than the game can register it, so you just kind of have to fight it sometimes. There we go. All right. Yes, coming up we have a very, very special strategy. And I definitely want to make sure I can get every ounce of damage for free out of this. So we're going to meet actually one of the only technically optional bosses in the game, even though it's technically required for this strat. This is Deadeye. Normally we're supposed to do this really cool like hide and seek stealth mission. I just don't have time for it, unfortunately. So we're just gonna ride through our invisible walls. Yeah, thank you, game. Very cool. Okay, now we're gonna swap to Ignis. So what the game doesn't really tell you is Deadeye is now debuffed, which is really cool, but he's also unfortunately a bit weak to fire. So we're gonna take our man's that has his super sick fire daggers, and we're just gonna, melt this level 15 health pool at level 1. Noctis, if you could be such a sweetheart and give me a warp strike to finish this, no, that's fine. I've got it myself. Thank you. Anyway, we're going to do something that you can't do in the normal game, and that's actually warp out of this dungeon. So one sec, got to do this really quickly. Should be good. So, unfortunately, because I don't have an accurate count of where I'm at, apparently the end game's still good. So that's interesting. I'm going to wait for an encounter here. There's a whole lot that's going to go on, and I will explain it the second I can. While in that menu, I interacted with the car and did a ZCB, but I didn't move. So what happens now, if you looked very closely, the car's clock was still running. And obviously I am in an encounter, but the menu is still up. The other thing I did, which you don't have to do, I only do it because it does end up saving a bunch of time, is I not inverted the controls, but I swapped the controls from like English confirmed to Japanese confirmed. So circle is now confirm, X is cancel and jump, which means I can keep this menu open, which I absolutely need to do. However, I can move faster by jumping and warp striking through this. So what we have here currently is the game should be absolutely crashing itself. It is running while it is in a pause state, which it kind of doesn't know what to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to push it forward. We have to push it forward to a place where I can at least rest and make a save, so I have a place to go back to where everything is already taken care of. The most important thing being that I have the chocobos. Oh, it's going to get even more wild. By the way, Maddie, do you have anything for like potential photosensitivity warning? Or do you want me to just kind of call it out if and as it happens?
I think just call it out as it happens. Yeah.
Okay, cool. But yeah, because we entered that dungeon technically incorrectly, I'm able to just warp out of it, which is really interesting. We actually got really lucky. Like, I know I'm behind PB, but at least the game is being really friendly with how it's counting my time in game, which is really nice. So I'm going to just rest at this caravan. Because we haven't rested anywhere, it takes us back to Hammerhead, which is actually really good because that's where I want to be. I think this was actually one of the biggest time saves is redoing where we do this, because we used to have to go really out of our way for it. So what's a boy to do? Unfortunately, because I have the menu open, I can't open the menu. And if I completely quit out of the game and reload, well, the glitch isn't going to be active. It would be really neat if there was a way that I could keep what's going on here, but allow myself to open the menu. Fortunately for us, for some reason, if we go back to the main menu and open up one of two of the DLCs, it just clears the status for whatever reason. I don't know why. Like, we don't know why. It just, in the immortal words of Todd Howard, it just works. So yeah, we're gonna load up episode Arden. Just get to the main menu. And then I'm going to back out and load that autosave that we got from taking the rest. From here on out, this is it. We are headed... Okay, maybe not in a straight line. There's some wiggle room. But we are basically still in Chapter 1, and we're going to head to the final boss area.
Well, while we're loading in here, I do have one donation for you.
Cool.
We actually have 1,000 bits from Minx Slivai, if I'm butchering that properly, who, of course, says, "Let's go, Kios. Hit him with the Schwupty-Wupty 360 no-scope off the top of the Rust first try easy world record."
Bless up. From your keyboard to the host's mouth. We're already so far behind. Like, against my PB, I'm already like 30 seconds RTA, so probably about 20 seconds loadless, if not more. Anyway, this is Taka. Taka's a swell fella. And we're going to have a jambalaya. The reason we're going to have that is literally the only thing we can eat that is going to give us any sort of stat boost, so we can just have an even chance. I'm going to mess up my menuing really quick, and then I'm going to fix it. And I'm going to get a chocobo for one day. I'm going to turn around, and he's going to show up. Thank you. Now, I'm going to open the menu really quick, and then convert to first-person mode. And as you can see, I am now controlling my character with the menu open. It's pretty interesting, right? You know, like it's a neat little party trick, right? Show it off to your friends. Be like, "Yo, look at this! I can ride the chocobo," and like, now I get to listen to that super sweet menu music wherever I go. Like, don't get me wrong, the chocobo music's a jam, but this one, real poggies, real fire. But we're gonna just keep this going. You're like, well, Kios, where are you going? Like, what are you doing? You used to be subtle. Like, you don't even care anymore. And I mean, hey, it's a hard knock life. It's a little jaded. I'm just gonna make sure that I do avoid getting into encounters. If you've never entered an encounter while on the chocobo, you get knocked off. And unfortunately for me, that is a bad thing. That's a mega time loss, and at some points might even be potentially run ending. But so there's a really cool thing. Is there anyone that's even mildly familiar with how the Dark Souls speedrun works? Even the no wrong warp one? Or the Bloodborne any percent run?
Is it walk under the world or get a large weapon?
Yes, walk under the world. The death cam glitch. So the premise behind how that works is basically with Dark Souls, there are two planes that you would fall through if you go like out of bounds or into a death pit. The first one changes the camera, and the second one, which is generally below it sometimes, is what drops your HP to 0. Now, when you fall through that first camera plane, it changes the camera view, and it stops loading any assets. Well, basically, we were moving while the game was paused. The game was 100% sure that we had the pause menu open, because we did. So, out to a certain limit, the game just doesn't load anything, which allowed us to hop a little wall, and we are now massively out of bounds. So we are going to just continue our way. This is going to be a little bit of a run and a swim, so we do have some time. If you got any biddies or donos to shoot in and you want them read by Maddie, now is the time to do it. Please send all of your tongue twisters and dad jokes and terrible puns.
And I will read every single one of them. And I will enjoy it. I promise. That said, I do have $5 from Wandering Mind, who just simply says, "You got this, Kios." And Minx Slival, I think I might have gotten that a little better this time, who said the same thing, but another $10, I can say it again. Let's go, Kios. Hit him with the Schwupty Wupty 360 no scope off the top of the rust. First try, easy rolled record. So there's that for you.
True. Maddie is a professional. Yeah, if you're unfamiliar with some of the tech, this is nothing too crazy. What I'm doing here is I am aiming for a particular spot that I know by heart. You can check it on the map. We're basically looking for pretty much the closest point where the chocobo can get to the ocean. Movement-wise, I am basically letting my sprint bar get up to the beginning of the B. I'm going to sprint, and then at the end of your sprint, right before the animation cancels, if you tap the stop button, for some reason, the chocobo goes into this neato power slide, and you'll notice my stamina bar just shoots back up. So we basically are just trying to maximize the amount of time we are in drifting chocobo mode. So we're looking pretty cool. I don't think I've really dropped any inputs here, which is super nice.
And we do get the chill chocobo music finally. It's now that it is not underneath the menu.
Drifting chocobo is the best.
I do have one more donation from you, from Agent Odd, with $50, who just simply says, "Sounds like a good cause," smiley face. And I do agree with that. And that does look like it went to the Splatoon bonus game incentive, which is still open and is our final incentive for the day. So if you want to see one more game today, please get in your donations. Preferably this run, but you still have pit people, but don't make me too nervous. I believe in y'all.
So good. I'll just show off where we're at right there. We are out there. This area honestly is only rendered because it's involved in the end of chapter 1 cutscene because it's over there. So they just wanted to have it textured. So I'm going to do a neat little thing here. Just because I can menu really quickly, I'm going to get us into the save menu. And if you were wondering what the answer to my earlier question was, what can chocobos do that we can't? The answer is swim. I don't know if anyone knew that, but the chocobos in this game can swim. And, well, we're going to go swimming because I have to. This is an extremely long setup for one of the wackiest wrong warps that I've honestly seen in video games. Yep, swim is in fact right. So we're going to take a very nice swim over to that island over there. One could say that we're actually going to swim back to Insomnia. You swear you've never seen this, Ron? True. But now we get even more relaxing chocobo music, so do y'all thing.
I can confidently say that I have seen this run many times and couldn't tell you a thing that happened in it.
It's a bit of a blur, to be honest. Like, there's so many weird technicalities that it's like this run is getting to a point where it's very difficult to actively explain everything and or everything that can go wrong or how to fix anything that kind of goes wrong along the way. And there's honestly a few things that we don't really understand why they work, and we're just working off of educated guesses and what very minute clues I've been able to pull from asking developers and what I kind of can see when I load stuff under Cheat Engine to just kind of see what it's reading and pulling from.
Yeah, I can't imagine all of the hours and tech that go into a run like this.
To be honest, this started because D-Wins, who's run a lot of the 13 trilogy, really looked at the New Game Plus run and was like, I wonder if we can do that, but without like, getting the New Game Plus part of it. And like his initial proof of concept run, I think was like 2.5 hours. And then we started hacking away at it. Then it was like an hour 45 and then an hour 30. And we changed some stuff around. And it was like hour 10, hour 5. And then it was an hour. And I think Vita's RTA was like just barely over 55. And I think mine is like just barely over a 56. It just got absolutely demolished. So I'm just going to keep swimming here. And if you're familiar with with what a wrong warp is, it's basically where you try and load into a place where you're not supposed to, and the game just kind of gets confused. So by swimming out to roughly in that area, the game is going to say, good save point. Hey, congratulations on beating the base game. Welcome to the expanded Royal Edition, which didn't exist on PC. It's always been the Windows Edition. So it's just, there you go. Makes no sense. It's some old trigger left over from the base game that is still in the files somewhere, and it redirects you into the load-in screen for if you basically once you finish up after the crystal, after the time swap, after you make it back to Hammerhead. And that's it. We are in the final area of the game already. However, because we have literally skipped everything, there's a lot of very complex problems we have to solve. So one of them is we're only level 9. Now, if this is level 1 and I went back to older strats, there are some things we could do where it wouldn't be a big issue. If you're familiar with like the level 1 Omega run, we get a very specific meal, which are Jabberwock skewers, I believe, and they basically give you a percentage buff to all stats based on the difference between your level and the enemy's level multiplied by like 2 or 3. So, you know, even if you're level 1, you get a massive stat boost because it's a very rare meal, but you're also then taking that plus 1,000, 2,000 to strength and HP and then multiplying it by like 3. So it's pretty cool. Anyway, photosensitivity warning while I do this. Close your eyes if you are subject to any sort of seizures. Right now, we are forced to endure this because the game is now trying to figure out what to do, because I've opened a menu while I've opened a menu, and there's another menu open within the entire thing. So it's kind of like Exhibit's Pimp My Ride, but like with video games. You can now open your eyes. So the game's gonna definitely have a bit of a quandary. Like, I obviously have to figure out how to get my damage up. And while people like to rag on this game for you know, like this game came out so incomplete, it's so jank, it's so broken. Unbeknownst to a lot of people, until you run this category or you were working on routing it, this game has anti-cheat measures built into it. Not like Denuvo, not like DRM, but the game does an inventory check at certain points in the run to check if you actually have everything you need to complete the final scenarios that the game wants to put you in, which is actually quite an interesting little thing. However, because I've literally skipped everything, and I mean everything, I do not have anything that we need to get through it. The main things being all the royal arms that we're supposed to collect in the story, as well as the Ring of the Lucide. Like all the stuff that we're supposed to get on our journey that we need to, you know, actually fight Arden. So we had to develop a way around that. And oh, by the way, we have to do a lot of that. The game checks at multiple parts. I'm going to open the menu again. Shield your eyes, please. And because I can menu and move at the same time, we're going to get through Core's dialogue. I'm going to grab Powercraft, and I'm going to make myself a magic that I'm going to need. I forgot to sell some stuff. That I just gave myself quite a shock. Okay, that's fine. Make sure I have take photo. Yeah, basically. Basically, imagine doing that, but just like using menus and ridiculous in-game shenanigans to just tell the game, no, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I'll show it to you later. I swear I've got it. Just trust me, bro. Trust me, bro. Source is me. We're going to use a cool little tech there to cancel an animation. Just if you open the camera, it cancels whatever animation Noctis is in, which is really cool. I'm probably going to slow down a second, take my time to do some menuing. But we're going to talk to this guy, Yosef, up here, who's going to give us a quest about an infiltration. We'll need that for later, but let me get through this and figure out why I have so much extra stuff. Good. I'm going to buy a Hyperion, which is a really high-powered two-hand sword. I'm going to grab myself like 17 ethers probably here. There we go. There's just a little hang-up. And an extra Phoenix down. So I guess while we're moving, I can explain what all the weird menuing was. Because I know no one saw it. I only know it just because I know exactly what everything is. I got 2 levels of warp factor, which increases my multiplicative damage of warp strikes based on distance. I also got a skill for Ignis called Enhancement, which basically imbues you with an element that your enemy is more than likely weak to. I got Powercraft, which allows us to get an extra 10 power out of any magic we make. And I also grabbed Noctis's second equipment slot. I gave him an accessory called Tech Turbocharger, which increases our tech bar, which is that green bar you see filling up whenever we're in combat. And I also put him back in his exosuit. We have one quick menu here. This belongs there, and Ignis is going to get enhancement. This is our friend Cerberus, and when I say friend, he's actually not. This dude has been ruining runs for me as of late, but that's okay. We're going to have a good time. I'm going to take a look at that pawsy. I need him to give me paw. He to give me paw twice, really. Okay, I need you to grab the paw, Noctis. There we go. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and give him exactly that. I wanted to topple Cerberus as early as possible in phase 1, and then we're just going to whittle his HP down. I need to move as quickly as possible and hope I get all the max damage warp strikes, which looks really good there, because I need him to get back up as quick as possible so I can start pouring damage back in. I am basically on a timer. I do not want to have to recast enhancement because it is slow and I do not have time for it right now. We got another good topple right off the bat. I will, in fact, give him heck, Gladio. Thanks for asking. Sure, just get it in. One more time. Enhancement wore off. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm just going to see if I can take him down. This should do enough damage. Close enough. There we go. Cerberus is down. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Yeah, thanks, Stump. Yeah, the vending machines are pretty interesting. They actually serve a really interesting purpose in Prompto's DLC. Our cute little cinnamon bun. So that was Cerberus. It wasn't perfect, but it was pretty clean. The cleanest of today so far, but now that's like saying walking through a Miyazaki-inspired poison swamp is, you know, better than walking into a Sarlacc pit. Anyway, we're going to go recycle to the front of the game. I'm going to just reset it here because this run is slow, and we'll do it again. Just kidding. That's the joke I always make. But this is, in fact, Ifrit. This is the big dice roll of the run for me. I need him to perform a specific set of attacks. If he does, cool. I can show off the quick kill strat, or at least have a chance at it. If I don't, whatever. I just got to kind of do spaghetti strats, throw it at the wall, whatever sticks, sticks. Yes, Prompto is a huge dork, and I adore him for it. So this time, instead of going back to pushing a car, we're just going to try and whittle Ifrit's HP down to about a third. And I'm going to try and do it really without touching the ground until I have to. I'm going to Warp Strike with Ragnarok, get off a 3-hit combo, and then warp back with the Air Step Sword. I'm going to take an Ether here. We're sitting pretty in that category in case things go poorly. And this should be enough. You don't actually have to whittle his HP down. I'm going to make sure I have Ragnarok equipped. I need to get that going. Cool. Enter phase 2. I'm going to immediately just try and start beating on Ifrit. Unfortunately, I'm not really going to be able to do any damage due to the fact that he is covered in this, you know, giant wall of fire. We're going to get enhancement up because that's going to tinge everything with a beautiful frosty flavor. This looks good. Okay, I need you to warp away immediately. He is not going to warp, so we are now, unfortunately, not on the fast strats. So I'm going to have to just whittle him down however I can. It's not going to be pretty. It might take a minute. It might take 3. Just hang on, because there's really kind of nothing I can do about it at this point in time. There's a couple of things I can try, and depending on how desperate I get, we'll see what comes out. It also kind of depends on what movesets he wants to play with.
All right, well, I can take over while you battle.
Yeah, go ahead. Do your thing. Do your thing.
Sure thing. Well, we have 1,000 bits from Blue Ninja Girls, who says, "Hey, Kyos, when is the part of the run when you have to flash your BIOS? Good luck with the run and congrats on getting the AGDQ from your friend Lan, Shai, Mokura, and the rest of the Gremlin squad. I also have $5 from Tempest Mask 1000, who says, I want to ride my Chocobo all day. Can't get it out of my head. Good luck, Kyos.
We are pretty darn close. I had to recast Enhancement, which is kind of normal. I just basically need to either catch Ifrit while he's up and around, or get him into a vulnerable stat. But we'll see. I'm just trying to do what I can. I have 1 magic left. I would like to save it if I can, but, you know, gotta make do with what you get. I know you blocked himself. So close. So you don't actually need to take Ifrit down to 0 HP. Heck it. We're just gonna have to go in. Oops. We're gonna have to go in short on Arden. It's fine. Ifrit was a frame, literally a frame ahead of me there. There we go. Cool. So unfortunately, I couldn't show off the really cool strat. Like I said, I've spent weeks, months, hours, frame by frame, going over every little piece of recorded footage we have, and there's just unfortunately no pattern or consistency that I see into it yet. But now we have the Kings of Yore fight. If you're not familiar with the expanded version of this run, we now have 3 back-to-back very challenging boss fights to do. Unfortunately, I have something really neat in my back pocket that they didn't expect. Because I can open the menu while I'm in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to initiate this fight, and instead I'm going to go to the tutorial, which I didn't want to in the beginning of the run for 2 specific reasons. One, because it breaks this. Yes, I've tested, just to make sure. But 2, it's slower. We don't like going slow. But yeah, this is our good buddy Carbuncle. Hi, Carbuncle. Now, if this area looks familiar, it is actually the same cell that we just walked into. However, it's the tutorial. Slower. Ew. Exactly, Richard. So what we now have here is the game is in a very confused state. So technically there should be an autosave right before that fight. However, I initiated the cutscene, which triggers the fight to start and hits the flag like, hey, this has now gone from an area you can save into an active combat zone. Well, the game can't load you back into active combat because it's just stupid. People would absolutely lose their mind if you're like, oh, I'm going to load my game, and immediately you just get trucked. And it doesn't make sense. It's just not how video games work. So it basically checks itself and is like, okay, well, the only way that this area or save could have been made is if this area is deactivated, which means it takes us past all 3 of the Kings of Yore bosses and just has to say, like, yeah, you beat it. You've beaten them. The only place that you could have a save and load in here is if you beat all of these bosses. So yeah, that was a really tough Kings of Yore fight. I dug really deep in my book of tricks to just not fight them. Oh, eye warning here. I have to bring that back out. This can go there, and we should be good. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. Yeah, there are some places in Dark Souls where that can happen. Yep, it's very similar. There's basically just a toggle that tells you whether the room is safe or not. I'm going to menu again here. Cover your eyes. I'm 1 over. So again, kind of how I set up the save for was able to get on the Chocobo with the save menu open. I'm going to enter this cutscene with the menu open. I unfortunately cannot skip this cutscene because I need it to stay open so I can begin to trick the game that I have everything that I need to get into this final fight.
To take with me.
Do you have another 2 minutes or so, plus or minus, minute and a half, 2 minutes if you need
I
it?
get it.
Sure thing. I don't think I have any
Take whichever you
donations to
like.
read at this point, which does make me a little sad, I must say. But,
That's the one.
you know, I believe in
No
you, chat.
ratsies?
I believe that we can meet the Splatoon incentive. We have a bonus game that's coming up at the end of the day, and we wouldn't want to disappoint both the runner and Turtle Guy, the next runner coming up here, who's told me very adamantly that they wanted to see this thing met. There will be tears if this is not met. So,
I mean,
any
Splatoon's got a
donations?
banger soundtrack too.
It does. I mean, really most games that we speedrun have banger soundtracks, but I mean, the Splatoon has a certain vibe that just is fantastic.
You all right, so I'll let y'all know a little bit about me. I'm from Philly. If you're unfamiliar with that, generally that means when we first meet people, we fist fight. And if you really want a bonding experience, you will generally meet up with someone at a Wawa, generally in like the dumpster behind the store, and you both disrobe and begin fighting. Um, because of that, I would love to honor my Philadelphia heritage. I'm gonna do the same thing with Noctis. So we're gonna change his outfit in the middle of this cutscene. And then when this cutscene ends, I'm gonna re-equip the same thing that I am currently equipped, which the game will think for a second and say, okay, so you're not wearing anything. Cool. And because the game doesn't know how to handle that, while it's trying to check like, do we have the Ring of Lucii, the 6 or 7 mandatory royal arms, it just goes, fine, I guess, sure, why not? Listen, I'm gonna be there, Decky. I'm coming to Pittsburgh.
What did you do?
The Battle of Kings.
The Battle of Kings.
Noctis. Shout outs to Darren DePaul for doing an incredible voice acting job here. So, time to fight Arden. Let's continue to shake this up. Anyone in chat remember who I talked to before we left the bunker?
Now.
Because that's about to come into play here. Eyes. Okay, looks right about where I need it. And oh no, I've died. Unfortunately, this is part of our strategy. Oof, that's not good. Should be able to just make it work, but it's going to be a little tight. Might have to take a retry on it, unfortunately. Yeah. Unfortunately, I did make a boo-boo there. I had the wrong item equipped, so we're just going to set this up again. Shouldn't be a big deal. Just need to get over here a little bit. Yep, that's why I brought an extra Phoenix down, just in case. Like, one more than I even bother taking with me. My finger was a little aggressive, and I did not swap back over in time, but this just looks like a good setup. There we go. I was a little low, but I just wanted to make sure we had enough MP. So if you're unsure of what's going on, I have literally just climbed the building to escape the Arden fight. And you're like, Kios, what are you doing? Hold on, I got a menu and I'll explain. I have to put on that very, very particular outfit. Otherwise I get soft locked and basically spawn infinite Noctis clones. Pretty odd, right? So the game is now in an absolute state of turmoil. It has no idea what is going on. I've now initiated a later side quest that we have in order to prolong this Arden fight. So I can drag him out here. And you're like, Kios, what are you on about? Well, here's the thing. I gotta get Arden out of that initial arena because we can't finish the fight. Because of how broken the game is, we need to take Arden somewhere else. And I also need to do a pretty decent chunk of his health. I want to get him to right around like 60 to 55%. You're like, well, what are you going to do? Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to stay out here, mind my own business. He's going to come to me. And I want to get this Hoplomachus out of the way just because that fire effect really hurts my eyes after staring at the aneurysm-inducing, like, glowing blue screen. But yeah, we're going to use our two-handed sword to beat him up a little bit. I'm going to... Apparently, Core's in danger, but he's standing up perfectly fine. The game's just... You know, it's much like me at the end of a Thursday at work. I am just trying my best and holding on for dear life. So as we get closer, he just gave out a voice line. I'm waiting for another voice line, and then we're going to start Warp Strike. Now, this game has another glitch. Ooh. Ooh. Okay, we're going to get something special. We're going to get a guaranteed way that I am not going to lose this run, and that is getting a summon. So I am now going to hit this, and I'm going to go into the Elemency menu. And I'm just going to stand here. Yeah, D-Winds, Chitose, and Needle and I both did a lot of work. And you're like, Kios, what are we doing? Well, I have to do more cutscene shenanigans. I'm first going to change my outfit. What that is going to do, and this is going to make no sense, is this is going to revive Core and drag Core into the final phase of the fight. So while I have the menu open, I need to keep this menu open because of something that's very intricate with the game. So I did a Warp Strike, and that's going to carry the damage multiplier through this next cutscene for whatever reason. So instead of me doing constant Warp Strikes at 1 times multiplier, whatever my last distance was, which was like a 2-3 or 2-4, that damage is going to stack. Okay, I don't want to have to do the really neat revive strat, please. It still makes me very panicky. So if you're familiar with the end of this game, you enter into this last cutscene. And the weapon that you end up with is the Sword of the Father, which is King Regis's sword. What the game does in the background is it wipes your inventory except for that item and throws it into the top slot. I do not have that item, so I need to keep the inventory up so the game can't force that change. And after combat initiates here, I can select the weapon I want. Otherwise, you end up soft locked and you cannot complete this. I think even if Core breaks him down, so we are just gonna put him to bed here. Get ready on the time. I need one more hit. Here we go. And coming up, it is time. Pretty clean. A couple of mistakes there, but like it's really neat we got to see the summon. Otherwise, what we would do is I have to like Warp Strike and chip his health down and then just wait in the menu for him. The cool thing is if you get the summon, it automatically forces the next phase, and I can just do 1 Warp Strike and open the menu. And you're like, Kios, can you make the summon happen every time? No, I wish I could. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. It's a really breakneck run. It's super broken. As we hit this cutscene, Noctis's hair is coming through his hat. There's going to be an extra core in the background. Every once in a while, you'll see the boys as well. It's just so broken beyond repair right now. It's trying its best. Yep, Core's just staring there, mean mugging Arden, like pathetic.
I will await.
Well, before you head out, I do have a question from you from a donation. And remember, your answer is for charity. Minx Slaval has $5 to ask, I'll only donate another 5 if Kios admits the Final Fantasy III soundtrack is, in fact, the better soundtrack.
Final Fantasy III?
That's what it says.
JP or NA?
Unspecific, but let's say both.
Oh, that's 2 different games.
We'll merge all of the tracks into one mega track.
3 has some jams. 6 absolutely has some bangers. I honestly really think it comes down to a question of what style and inspiration of
It's all
music you
you.
like. A lot of people think the soundtrack for 15 and 13 are meh, but like I'm a music scholar. I love heavy orchestration, so
No
6
turning
definitely
back
gets a
now.
nod from me. Yoko Shimomura is a living legend, and I think she knocked. Yep, there you go. There's 8
Pronto.
people in this background,
Glad
2
to help.
sets of the boys, including Noctis.
Ignis.
Um, Cloud of Darkness is a jammer tune. It's just a horrible fight. 8's really good. I think
Walk
8's
tall.
8's great, mate. Rate it 8 out of
My
8.
friends.
Yeah, 13 has leitmotif, which is also really cool. Listen, the best way to answer this question is my favorite your favorite
care.
Final Fantasy is which number? Oh, that's my favorite Final Fantasy
Majesty.
too. Tell me more. 3 is very short game-wise. 3 JP. Anyway,
I
don't
do
ask questions
appreciate
about
it.
why I've cloned my party. I don't have answers, Sway.
Thank you so much for that run, though, Kios. It was
Yeah.
fantastic hanging out with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
think-
Super appreciate it.
We can I'd probably let this play for a little bit here, but we'll
By all means,
kick
it's
it back
wacky. You
over.
get to see 2 sets of party members start fighting. The party's cloned and glitchless. It shouldn't be. Also, Core's there for whatever reason. None of it makes sense, which is cool. Like I love just how destroyed this game gets by the end of it. It's wild. But yes, if you actually want to know what the game looks like when you don't turn the graphics down, it actually looks like this on PC or on PS5. Like this game looks alarmingly pretty for a game that came out in 2016. It's like on sale once a month. If you haven't picked it up or played it, I would recommend it. It's a really cool game, especially if you like really casual stuff, like
Ready now.
looking at cool scenery, fishing, finding frogs, getting stuck in 100-floor basements and dungeons. Yeah, it's on PS Plus. No, you, Rich.
Luna.
But yeah, it's
Guys.
super gorgeous. Yeah, eating beans. Having campfire talk with the boys.
The time we had
Yep.
together.
All right. Well, I think we have run out of our time, unfortunately. And if you
Cool,
want to
cool.
see the last little bit of the cutscene here, go play the game. It's fantastic.